So let's try with the, as I mentioned you, vulnerability rating testimony is an important part which can teach you about the vulnerability rating part. And I will say, if you are going for the web application testing, you should make a PDF of this page. It will help you a lot to understand. It contains all the vulnerabilities. See, so most of the people try to figure out the P1 vulnerability, but this is a difficult part to understand. So you can see sensitive data exposure, insecure OS firmware, command injection, hard-coded password, which is also your API find out, broken cryptography, which is your simply a cryptographic part, automatic security misconfiguration. So, but over here we're gonna try with the command vulnerability. So last time we have done the SQL injection, but we have tried in the real website. Now we're gonna try the injection part, but what are the injections over here? Okay. So the ingestion attack, you can see ingestion attack occurs when the user is able to input untrusted data, triggering the application system to execute unissued commands. Or you can see over here, they have given this definition of SQL injection. What exactly the explanation means over here? You can see SQL injection is a web security vulnerability that allows an attacker to interfere with the queries within an application to make it to a database. Yes, basically the attacking on the database structure to identify the queries over there. This will help you out to understand the definition of the part. Follow the OWASP top 10 standard to understand what are the vulnerabilities that an attacker or a pen tester follow to penetrate their or secure their websites. So we're going to try one by one. We're going to try the most common vulnerabilities, just like I'm going to show you. Let's start with the injection part. So in injection, the next injection over here is your command injection. Simple. A command injection is also a vulnerability that an attacker can upload a file on the server side or execute any OS command. So let me show you in this section. See, this is a proper URL segment. https://webattacker.com. So what is a formula to identify the vulnerable parameters? What exactly the what we have to identify? So I will write how to identify the web application. We can say loops, or we can say holes. So I have a simple funda. I will say domain name, file type dot programming language that the most of the website used, with the parameter is equal to value. So what exactly this is over here? A domain name could be a website. For example, I'm going to take xyz.com. The file type over here is the directory of the file type, or it could be a direct file over there. Or suppose the file type should be a login.php. You can consider this one as your facebook.com also. When you see this one, I'm going to do facebook.com. Let's do the login part. See this one. We have the domain name and we have the file also. For example, if I write my name over here, partho@co.in, password 12345. See this one. Now you can see this login device-based regular login. Now you can see the question mark. The question mark identifier simple over here. This is your all the file types and directories. These all are your file types and directories. But after the question mark, there's a parameter which contains login underscore attempt. This is a parameter which contains a value 1 over here. And there is a different parameter which is your LWV, which contains a 100 value. This is a proper to identify, but the most important thing is to understand what exactly the parameter value is over there. The web application part is basically totally based on different thing. Most of the pen tester, they try to read the core mechanism, or they try to read the basic concept of the web application works over there. So we need to follow each and everything one by one that could be help us to identify. So say this one, as I was on the pen tester port swagger, they given me a website.com with the backdoor.sh. The backdoor.sh is a file over there. See the OS command injection. It's also a part of your injection, where an attacker simply inserts some malicious script or trusted data to trick the application to enumerate the backend side queries database. Or if you see over here, OS command injection, also known as shell commands. Shell command means your terminal that you always write over here. For example, let me show you the bash OS command, like ping -c the packet, 3 packets should be sent. Yeah. This is a normal OS command, which is run on my Linux terminal, a bash terminal over there. OS command injection is an attack where an attacker simply executes some OS commands, just like your ping, your ls, and any command which is related to your Linux, and enumerate the backend server database. Think about it. We only have the website. We only know the website, but in the backend, there is a server which is running in the Linux or Ubuntu or Windows. That depends over there. So you see shell injections. It is a web security vulnerability that allows an attacker to execute arbitrary operating system commands. Arbitrary means malicious. On the server that is running on an application, yeah, obviously a server which is running over there. A server which is a physical device, and that server is hosting our website and web API, and we can typically work with it and typically fully compromise the application via its data. Let me show you how you're going to identify. OS command injection is also a critical vulnerability. You can see an attacker can leverage means level up an OS command vulnerability to compromise the part of the hosting infrastructure. We don't care about what exactly in their network is. Through the website, we can simply see, is it a Windows, is it a Mac, is it a, you can see a Linux or your Android or the intra network of the sensitive data, which you see over here. Upload download directory, server access control, edit user security levels, admin application access to the sensitive data, and local network access also given over there. Exploiting trust relationship to pivot. The pivot word is basically to jump to the network one by one. So see this one, how an attack can be work. Consider this one. This is a URL which is given, the insecurewebsite.com, with a stock status, which is a file type with the parameter and the value. And they have given a one parameter also, which is stored ID. Okay, are you getting my points, or should I more evaluate this one? Abhishek and Jaydeep sir.
पार्थो,
Yes.
आपने ये फेसबुक का एग्जांपल दिया था ना, वैसे ही मतलब एक बार समझा सकते हो तो बेटर है.
ओके, फेसबुक में जो मैंने आप लोगों को बताया था कि सिंपल, इसमें आपके ये आपकी फाइल टाइप्स है. These are your file types, or you can say directories one by one. And this login attempt 1 is a parameter with the value. Most of the website security tester, they works on the parameter part, because this parameter is basically a part of your database query or your source code also. and your function of the application. Think about if there is a login form must be connected to the database because there will be a AAA authentication, authorization, and accounting that we always do. With the accounting part, we always follow the CIA triangle: confidentiality, integrity, and authenticity. So this web application is totally a different thing right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So for if you want to learn the basic concept, because the CH part is covering the vulnerabilities, you can simply go to the. I will prefer this book, the Web Application Hacker Handbook, because this book will let you know the basic concept of how the mobile, how the web application API works.
एक्चुअली यूट्यूब पे मैंने 2-4 वीडियो देखे ना, तो यही बुक के लिए सब बोल रहे हैं, बग बाउंड्री के लिए बेस्ट बुक.
Yeah, everyone was saying this book, no?
Everybody said.
Yes, this is a Bible of the bug bounty.
Yes, somebody say it's a Bible of bug boundary.
Yep. If you learn, if you have the basic understanding of this entire chapters, no one can beat you.
Mm-hmm. And this book with come with example like practical also.
Yes, books comes with the practical also. What is web spidering? See this one. It will be all written over there. You have to simply automate, or you can have to do manually.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This will book help you a lot in your web application part. Yeah. Shall we continue?
Yes,
Yes.
Partha. Yes.
So this parameter with the value which contains some this product ID. The product ID is must be a column name from the database server. Product ID is equal to 381. Store ID is equal to 219. So they have totally different column name. A column name product ID with the store ID. Think about this one. This specific when you are doing a login form, when you are simply authenticated to an application, this is also connected with the database query. Let me show you about this part. Okay, it was like this. See, for example, they have given an example over here which says consider an application that let a user log into the username and password. Yeah, we basically always do this one. No? If a user submit the username, they have given Viner and the password blue cheese. They have simply given. But what we only have the front end, but in the back end, we can see we have a proper SQL statement that could be help us to understand how the website works, which is your source code review or your code review part. Select star from user. The user over here is the table name. Where the where condition, the where clause is to basically find or its combinations. So you can say username with the Viner and the password from blue cheese. It will execute from the database to simply highlight. And same thing is happening over here also. This product ID is also a part of your column name, which is an entry from your database. But how an attacker can simply extract or simply do some other stuffs. For example, you can see they have given the Perl command. Let me show you one example of this one. So this is a normal OS command injection. So if we can execute any our OS command parameter or this arbitrary OS command query, just like they have given who am I. The who am I command, if you run the who am I command over here, it will tell you exact the current username. The current user that which I'm using right now is called root 6. So they have given a challenge over here. This lab contains an OS command injection vulnerability in the stock product checker. Stock product checker. So this is an application which will check the data query from the database server. So you can see one more thing, the application execute a shell command container using user supplied products ID stores and written with the raw data. So to solve this lab, we have to execute whoami command to determine the name of the current user. So let's try with the access, the lab. Let's do this one.
This is paid lab or freeware?
This is free one. These all are free. Anyone can join.
Okay.
So over here we have simple a part is given. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to enumerate one by one all the possibilities. So for example, we can see we have a home directory. This is a normal home directory, there's nothing changes, but I can see some items over here. Conservation, controlling, you can see these are the products over here. So let's have a look. Let's gonna check this one. As per the lab, they said we have to check the stock market. So we can see that there's a London and the check stock. So they can say this unit contains 62 units on London. So we have Paris and Milan also. So think about it. You have to think a simple logic over here that this Milan and this query, which is showing over here, it contains a database query, which is simply executing the query from the database. So what happened if I simply intercept the request with the burp suite? Intercepting means read about the request which contains the body. All I can see, this is a normal post request. A post request which can be filled with any of the text field, just like when you do google.com on the Google search, it contains the post method. Anything where the data is flowing from any text field or any comment field or any of the parameter value which comes in post. But if the data is transferring from the URL section, which is your get method, sometimes you will see a get method over there. And the get methods are basically the data which is transferring from the URL section. Comment uniform resource locator. For example, I can see this product is equal to stock is the file type, and I can see the host, which is our website, the user agent that I'm using for mediator, accepting encryption standard, encoding, refer where the URL we want to go. I can see product ID is equal to 1. The content type is basically your application part. The origin basically contains the where the request has been originated or created, and the length content means over here the packet size. But over here I can see product ID and stored ID are the parameter values. Otherwise, you can see you can click over here with the parameter. You can see there are two parameter values, 1 and 2, and the proper header values. But the major part that we're going to do in this proper burp suite, I will say, if you know the burp suite, everything will be easy for us to understand. For example, what we're going to do over here, we're going to send this request to repeater. What is the major function of repeater? Repeater is basically used to modify the client request and see the behavior of the server. we have the request tab and the response tab. The request tab, which is a client request, so we can see the behavior when we execute, or we simply pass the client to the server. So if the client, if the request is successful, we will get a response from the server 200, which means OK report. But let us see over here. In the proxy, I'm going to send this one right click to the repeater. And I'm not, okay, let's drop the packet. I don't want to execute the packet. The packet has been dropped. The request was dropped by the user. Yep. So all I can see over here on the repeater, yeah, it contains our parameter value. So what exactly the OS command over here? So the OS command injection will be simply execute some malicious commands from the server side. See this one. If I'm using a ping command, to simply execute the command, but I simply say, I can write any malicious command, just like RF. It will format my entire drive part. An attacker, when the server is supplying some data from a legitimate user, an attacker can try to manipulate the specific command and can add some arbitrary command over here. For example, I can write who am I can write ifconfig, so it's gonna run both of the queries, or it's gonna run the malicious commands also. See, it's gonna run one by one all the commands. First, he run the ping command, then he run the whoami command, which is root, then he run the ifconfig command, and then I run the ls-all command, the list directory. Let me show you one thing, what will happen if an attacker can jump. So we have two parameters, protect ID parameter and store parameter. Let's see what can happen. So I'm not going to change anything. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add and sign. Why I'm using an and sign? Because and sign contains two parameter values. We can execute two parameter values in a single go. So if I write who am I, let's see what happens. Okay, there was nothing. Just I can see there's a 22 unit. Let's try with a semicolon. Now I'm using the semicolon because they were using the AND function over here also. AND function means another query is joined, and this who am I was taken as a query. So let's try to again jump. So I can see there's a home. It's revealing some sensitive information, just like home Peter stock report. So what exactly the stock report over here? Stock report, which is a normal file, which was like this, the product ID. Yeah. So over here, this parameter was not running. So I'm going to try over here also. Let's write who am I? Yeah, I can see the second parameter was running my query. The first one was having a simple query default error. See, all I can see there's a if I have written who am I. So over there in our simple parameter value, we have to check either is there any OS command injection attack is there or not. So I can see who am I is executing. Let's write ls -all, list all the parameters. Okay, so I can there was a space over here, so let's do plus. In the post method, plus means space over here. Yep. You can see we are on the previous directory, and I can see there's a file like bash logout, bash rc, bash profile, jar stock.report.sh file, which is also a file on the server. See, an attacker can do a lot of things over here. What I'm going to do, I'm gonna use a cat etc password. Cat etc password contains the user names of the server. It contains all the usernames on the server side. I can see the Peter also. The user, Carlos, nobody. These are the system users. OS command injection is the major critical vulnerability which can be used to enumerate any database queries on the server side, and which can be used in various techniques also. If you look for the reports of the OS command injection, see the 200 request response code indicate that the request is successful from server side. If there is an error, you will get 400 requests or something related to that. The port swagger contains the scratch level to advanced level. This was a normal scratch thing just to enumerate how it works. Sometimes if the semicolon is not working, you can try the double AND function. But the double AND function is also taking as a query. So we can do a pipe, a single pipe also. So we can try the double pipe, but the double pipe will simply execute the first one. You can try whatever the condition that we can use over there for the condition or to merge the query. If you try to run this one just like this, it will not execute. It's simply the bypassing the queries parameter to execute our arbitrary shells. So in this scenario, what exactly the vulnerability is? The vulnerability is to enumerate or extract the information on the backend process or extract the entire database. So one by one, we can try to enumerate. What are the other things we can do? See, this is a normal lab which I'm going to tell you. We have other techniques also. We can write who am I in Linux, name of the current user, who am I, uname hyphen, the operating system version, IP config, net stat, network connection, what other application is running. You can see the Windows also. The version VER for version, IP config space hyphen all. There are lots of techniques that we can use it over here to extract the vulnerabilities one by one. Blind OS command injection vulnerability. Most of the vulnerability basically based on your blind escalation, blind OS command injection. There are lots of blind accesses also. Blind accesses means where we simply hold the response code for a specific period of time. It means the attacker simply put some time delay conditions or a condition that holds the packet for a time. Many intention of OS command injection are blind escalation. Why? This means the application does not return the output for a command within the SQL response because it holds some specific period of time. We can hold it for 10 seconds or 5 seconds. If it holds for response code to come in 10, 15 or 20 seconds, it could be a vulnerable part. That means a client, an attacker can control the vulnerability. Blind vulnerabilities can still be exploited, but different techniques are required. For example, see this one. I was using ping command. I was using ping command for 10 seconds. So it means it's sending a request code over there. then we have a proper output of the server, how many times it's taken over there. Because over here we were sending some OS commands over there also. You have to think about the logics over here. See this one. Consider a website that lets user to submit feedback about the site. Now we have data to be saved over there. The user enter their email address and feedback message. The server side of application then generates an email to site administrator containing a feedback. Yes, after the submission, it's gonna simply revert it to the administration. To do this, it's called the mail program and submit details. For example, like mail-s this site -o. This is normal part from featurenormal.net feedback vulnerable website. It's will something like this one. The output from the mail command, if any, not written in the application response, so it's using the echo payload. The echo payload, the echo is basically used to you can say output or highlight. For example, you can see if I write echo over here, echo Lucifer, it's highlighting the Lucifer part. So you can see also using the echo command to not to be effective. In this situation, you can use a variety of other techniques to detect or exploit a vulnerability. For example, we're going to use the ping command. Detecting blind OS command injection by using the delay, the time delay. We're going to delay the response code for 10 seconds. If we can count the 10-second dilation, it's vulnerable. You can use an injected command that will trigger a time delay, allowing you to confirm that the command was executed based on the time that an application take response. The ping command is an effective way to do this, as it lets you specify the number of ICMP packet to send. Yes, ICMP echo packets, we can simply consider how many packets that we're going to send. So that time the response will be delay for that part. Okay, so we can use this command. Let's try this over here. We have a submit back. Yes. Now I don't know which parameter is vulnerable. There's a name parameter, email parameter, submit parameter, message parameter. So we can do lots of other things. I'm gonna write Lucifer.co.in. So this will be a normal submit part, but what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hold the packet. Send to repeater, drop the packet, that's it. So then to the repeater, there we can see there's a name parameter, email parameter, and the submit parameter also. So I am not aware about which parameter is vulnerable to which part. So the time delay parameter will let you simply hold the request part. You can see if I simply execute this one 200, the request is completed in a single click and response. But we have to hold the response code for a specific period of time. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use some ping command. -c. Give me 2 minutes. Yes, I was in a call. Sorry, I was in a call. Okay, are you able to hear my voice now? Yes, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna create our own ping command, and I'm gonna send some 10 packets, and I'm gonna send this on to his local host. But there is a problem over here. Let's see, is it using an AND function or not? Let's try AND. Ah, no, not AND. Let's use semicolon. Yep, it's working fine. Okay, but there is a problem over here that this is considering. Okay, this is the normal plain text. Okay, so the data is transferred from a normal URL form, so we have to change the parameter value. So what we're gonna do, we have to simply use the space like ping space -c space or space localhost IP. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add some plus over here, plus that means space over here. See this one. Yeah, now it's done. I'm gonna copy this one also. Why I'm gonna copy this one? Because I'm not sure that which parameter vulnerable is. So semicolon. Yep. Okay, let's use semicolon. Okay. Let's try over here also in the subject part, and let's try on the Lucifer also. So let's see which parameter will be vulnerable. Could not save. Okay, so let's try with one by one, I guess. So let's try over here with the name parameter first. So we're getting 200 request code. So this one is not working over here. So I'm going to change this one. So cut. Let's paste it over here on the email part. Let's try over here. Is there explanation? This working or not? This is not also not working. Let's try with the subject part. And now I can see it was simply delayed for a specific time. Let's try again. Okay, no, it was also not delaying. Let's try it over here. So let's see what was the problem over here. Do I'm doing some mistakes? Okay, so this time I have to change the. Sometimes we have to change this pipe command over here. That was a problem. So let's use over here again. Yes, now I can see there was one mistake which I did. I didn't have mentioned the semicolon over here also. So you can see it was simply hold the response code. Let's do 50. It's going to take a long period. So 1, 2, 3. It will be like this. So blind explanations means it's basically to check the behavior of the server. If you can hold the response code for a specific period of time, there could be a major vulnerability. OS command injection, an attacker can execute arbitrary OS commands on the server side. Simple. And these ping command is our OS command over there. Is it okay, Jaydeep sir? Abhishek sir? Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Madhu.
Yeah, yes,
We have
please.
waited for outcome, like response. It could not save, like
Yeah, the response was a little bit delayed because of the 50 requests we keep receiving. You will not see the output anything, but you can hold the request parameter. There are a lot of things we can try. This port swagger will help you out a lot of things. Blind explanation can be used to simply redirect also. That's why, according to the OWASP top 10, injection is considered over there. Let me show you one more vulnerability of OWASP top 10, the broken authentication, which is 8.2. If I talk about the authentication part, means it will validate the client request to the server side. For example, if you have a login form, the login form will be cross-verified by the server database. A login form will be cross-verify the client request with the server database, which contains credentials. Just like your username and passwords. Because over here I can see that the database server contains the proper validation part. Is it okay? So you have to assume that the authentication, the AAA, the CIA triangle for validation part. Let's see what exactly the broken authentication means over here. Broken authentication occurs when the application mismanaged session-related information such that the user identity get compromised. How the user identity will get compromised? Think about it. There's a logic behind this one. When you log into an application, you will assign 3 attempts. If you mistake the 3 attempts, the 4th attempt will be block you for a specific period of time. I think this is the genuine thing which has happened. 3 attempt के बाद you will kick out for a specific period of time, and some of the sensitive information can be compromised. Broken authentication is also a vulnerability when an attacker can simply perform some brute force attack. A brute force attack is an attack where an attacker simply use some phrases and words to simply log into an unauthorized access because it contains some username and passwords. The information can be form of session cookies, passwords, secret keys, and etc. And what exactly this scenario means over here? The aim of here is to either get someone's sessions or a session which has ended by the user or to steal session related information. See this one, authentication. So over here, what we have, an attacker can simply log into their application which contains a username and password field. But what he did, enter your email address to reset your password. So the password reset condition will be malcrafted and it is sent to the victim. And the victim will, the host will redirect it to the eviluser.net part, which is a vulnerable site. See this one, why we always secure ourselves for secure our passwords, secure each and everything. Why? Because we are afraid if we get compromised, lots of sensitive data we can be compromised. You can see in this section we will look some of the most common authentication mechanisms used by a website and discuss potential vulnerability in them. Highlight both internal vulnerabilities in different authentication mechanisms. Authentication means login forum, simply standard. well as some of the typical vulnerabilities that are introduced by the improper platforms and authentication part. We will provide some basic guidance. See over here, authentication labs. There are lots of vulnerabilities. See, if I show you, we have username animations, we have username animations part. You can see they have given two-factor, how we can bypass two-factor authentication, 2FA broken logic, 2FA offline password cracking. See, these are the things can happen over there. And these are concepts in real life scenarios. The authentication part contains a lot of things. But for the basic understanding, I'm going to show you how does it works. Simple. There are three things in your mind should be know. What is exactly the authentication means? Authentication is a process of verifying the identity of given user to or client. Yes. In other words, it involves making sure that they really are whom they claim to be. Yes, I should be. Who exactly am I? Websites are exposed to anyone who is connected to the internet by design. Robust authentication mechanism and integral aspect and effective web security. I think you might guys know these things. These three authentication factors which should be related to real life scenarios. Something you have, something you know, something you have, something you are or do. Something you know means you know the username and password. See, such as password or the answer of the security questions. You may know that one. These are sometimes referred as knowledge factors. Yeah, sometimes we simply put some security questions over there. Am I right? I guess I am. Something you have means like your cell phones to enable OTP. It is a physical object like your phone, mobile phones, or security token, which is assigned to the APIs. These are sometimes referred as position factors. Something you are, something you do is just like your biometric or pattern of behavior. And this is basically based on your inheritance factor. Is it clear, Abhishek and Jadip sir?
Yes,
Yes.
Prasad.
Yes.
Yeah, let's try what would be the possibilities if I simply use this one. Okay, there's one more thing. Always remember about authentication and authorization. Differentiate. Authentication will be who exactly you are or whom you to be claimed. Or authorization involved what should be allowed or to be do. Allow means authority that you have the permissions to be assigned in the application. Suppose simple, there's a question. If I'm using an application, I am the admin right. I have the admin rights, but there's a local guest user also. Each and every user in the application has the authority to perform in their classes. So we can talk about the broken authentication, how the broken authentication works, because broken authentication vulnerability flows are based on your brute force attacks or bypassing the OTPs and two-factor authentications. So you can see how the authentication vulnerability arises because of the brute force attack. Broadly speaking, most vulnerabilities in authentication mechanism arise in two ways. The authentication mechanism are weak because they fail to adequate protect against brute force attack. What exactly the brute force attack over here? See, this website will help you a lot to understand. A brute force attack is when an attacker uses a system or a trial and error. Trial and error means hit and trials in attempt to guess the valid user credentials. These attacks are typically automated using word list of username and password. This is the important part. Automating this process, especially using the dedicated tools, potentially enables an attacker to make vast numbers of login attempts. See, normal thing is given. So let's have a look. Let's do a simple attack part. Let's try with this one. So we can perform a simple brute force attack. And we're gonna try to brute force usernames and brute force password also. So if think about it, if we are using a brute force attack, so what could be the usernames? Username like Partho, or it could be an email address also, just like your this one. Or if you talk about the password brute forcing, so it will be a combinations, a minimum number of characters, a mixture of lowercase and uppercase letters, and the list of special characters. Yes, we do that thing most of the time. Like this one. This is given a proper way. Password is my password, but you can see they have changed the values over there. Let's try the username status code. Let's try this one. Username enumeration by different response code. We have to enumerate the usernames. Let's try this one. First thing, we're gonna identify the username, then we're gonna identify the password. So this lab is vulnerable to username mechanism and password brute force attack. It has account with predictable username and password, which can be found in following word list. So it means we have two different word lists. So let's try this one. So they have assigned us some of the usernames over here, like root, admin, test, guest info, hidden. See this one. So we're gonna do copy. We can copy this one. So I'm gonna copy, and I'm gonna paste it. I'm gonna paste it in the text box. Okay, so let's do this one. So save this one over there on the desktop. I can say desktop, but desktop. We're gonna name this one user.txt. Yep. Now we have the password also. It means if the password date and the username can be leaked and you can get in anywhere, or you can create your own password list if you have gathered as much of information about your target. So I'm gonna do a normal text file. This one. We're gonna try to broken authentication part. Okay, wait. Let's see this one. Let's copy this one, and I'm gonna paste it over here. So the desktop, I'm gonna name this one pass. Okay, over here. Pass.txt. So it's a dictionary. Yeah, we have this one. So over here, I can see the password.txt and the username user.txt contains the words. And there were 100 lines. Yep. Over here is also 100. So let's try this one. Let's try to extract. So we need to identify the user enumeration by different response codes. So we have to identify those things. Username enumeration is when an attacker is able to observe changes in the website behavior in order to identify the given valid username is valid. Yeah, username enumeration typically occurs either on the login forum, for example, when you enter a valid username but incorrect password, or a registration forum when you enter a username is already taken. This greatly reduces the time or effort required to brute force a login because the attacker is able to quickly generate a short list of valid usernames. Yep. Let's try it here. So let's do access. So this is the normal block which is given over here. So we can try on the login forum. Yes, over here. Yeah, so the first thing I can see, which is login and the username and password. So let's try with my name. Yeah, this was Lucifer. And valid username. So can I write root over there? Then. No root. Let's try admin, I guess. No, the username is so invalid. But over here, what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to use our dictionary with the username password. I'm gonna use the username dictionary. It contains all the users' names over here. Let's try this one. So over here, we're gonna use a tool on the Burp suite that would be our intruder. Intruder is a tool which is basically used to perform a brute force attack on the server side. Performing brute force attack with the help of attack types: sniper, battering ram, pitchfork, cluster bomb. And these are basically used to perform a brute force in a specific parameter. But over here, we have to capture the packet first. For example, I'm going to put 1 and 2, intercept 1. The interception is over here to simply check the value part. So we can see the CSRF which is given over here, the token. This is not important for us. We're going to use username and password. So let's do right click, send to intruder. Send to intruder, it will simply send the request to the intruder part. We can see over here. But in the proxy, we're gonna drop the packet. I don't want to intercept the packet. Why? Because through the validation, think about it. अगर मैं यहाँ पे यूजरनेम 3 से 4 से 5 से ज़्यादा बार गलती कर दूँ तो it will block me at temporary time के लिए. But कुछ applications क्या होते हैं कि वो block करती ही नहीं है. So in that time, an attacker can perform a proper brute force attack. So let's try over here. Okay, so there's one more, there's one problem over here. See why? So consider this one. See, let me show you. Okay, so where is it? Yeah, there are 4 parameter values: 1, 2, 3, and 4. But our main parameter that we want to attack is on the username parameter. Yes, username parameter पर attack करना है मुझे. So in this scenario, what I'm going to do, we're going to clear all the tags. See, I clear all the tags. Why? Because I want to simply attack on the specific parameter, which is username parameter. So highlight this one with the value 1 and tag add. We're going to perform a brute force attack on the parameter value. And the attack type that I'm gonna use is your sniper attack. The sniper attack is basically used to perform a specific target over there. Single parameter attack करने के लिए यहाँ पे sniper यूज होता है. Battering ram multiple parameter पे. Pitchfork जहाँ पे आपके पास 2 अलग डिक्शनरीज होंगे, parameter 1 के लिए, parameter 2 के लिए. और क्लस्टर बॉम्ब यूज होता है आपके सिंगल पैरामीटर के लिए, सिंगल डिक्शनरी के लिए. बट ये क्या करता है, हर एक पैरामीटर की वैल्यूज को एक दूसरे के साथ चेक करता है, यानी कि परम्यूटेशन एंड कॉम्बिनेशन. और आप बोथ पैरामीटर्स के लिए क्लस्टर बॉम्ब यूज कर सकते हो. बट यहाँ पे मैं यूज करूंगा सिंगल स्नाइपर पैरामीटर. You can see I have selected the parameter 1. Let's go to the payload, and I can see the payload option is to set a word list that you're going to use. You can define 1 or more word sets. Number of payload set depend on the attack type and defined as a position. So payload set is 1. Yeah, because there's only one payload to be attacked. And the payload type is simple payload. But over here, if you click, there are lots of payload types that we can use: runtime payload, custom mediator, character substitutions, case modification, recursive graph. You can see there are a lot of things is given. Username generator, maximum payload per, you can generate your own username. But over here, I'm going to use the simplest payload. In simplest payload, we're going to load our payload on. Okay, so load desktop. In dictionary, we can see user.txt file, which contains all the words over here, which has 100 words. So we're going to attack on the simple single parameter over here. You don't have to simply do some other things, just like a payload protection. See, these are nothing. In the option tag, you can simply post your scanning part or simply faster your execution and start attack. See. So all I can see, there are 200, all are 200 over here. We can see the request, which contains the username PI, and I can see the response code, username innovation, invalid username. See, the first thing is invalid. All the statements are 200. See. All the statements are 200, but I can see there is one pattern, which one length of the packet, which is 3186. And you can see all the packet, which is 3184, 3184, 3184. Sometimes we have to maximize or simply understand the current one with the maximum length of the packet. The length of the packet contains a simple extra size or bytes, which indicates that this is the exact packet we are looking for. See this one. See one of the response codes. Incorrect password. It means this is the correct username that we identified. Let's try over here. Oracle. Let's do password. My name Parth. Now you can see the Oracle was the correct username. The Oracle was the correct one, but the password was incorrect. Same thing. What exactly we have to do? When you find the username, now look for the password also. But over here, where you have put the payload, just like your username, you have to clear this one. And over here, that you have to simply use Oracle. And now we're gonna attack, we're gonna perform a brute force attack on the password parameter. Same thing, but payload will be changed. Load password.txt. Options, sniper attack. Now I have one more questions to you guys. When we are doing a login for a password, we have to fill the form of the credentials. Now what will happen when you fill the username and password? It will simply check to the database. But it also will indicate us a proper validation also. For example, which kind of validation it can say? it's going to show us 2302 found. 302 indicate this is your HTTP status code. HTTP status code. It means the data which we filled over here is correct on the database server. That's why it shows 302. See this one, you will see 200, 200, 200, 400. Click over here. If you are not aware about this thing, just click over here. Simple, remove the 200 and 300, 200 or 400, because you should know about 200 success, redirection, request error, and server error. See this one. This is the password of your that. 1, 2, 3, 6 capitals, make 6 Somalis. See this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Login. Hello? Okay.